Welcome to the Rare History Channel. 9 things you may not know about Harry Houdini. Though Harry Houdini died nearly a century ago, his mystique has never faded. The famed magician captured the imagination of the world with his death-defying stunts and performances, many of which still baffle modern magicians. Whether he was escaping from a straitjacket while suspended from a crane above the streets or getting out of his famed Chinese water torture cell with just moments of air to spare, Houdini had a habit of leaving everyone in awe. And with performances that spectacular, it shouldn't come as a shock that his life was just as fascinating. Read on for some interesting facts about Harry Houdini. Fact number 1. Harry Houdini's real name was Eric Weiss. He likely took the first part of his stage name from his childhood nickname, Harry, although some sources say that his first name was a tribute to magician Harry Keller. His last name, however, was definitely a tribute to French illusionist Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin. Number 2. According to legend, Harry Houdini also named Buster Keaton, although inadvertently. Along with Houdini, Buster's dad, Joe, was the co-owner of a traveling show called the Mohawk Indian Medicine Company. The story Buster tells, though some believe it's a myth, is that one day, when he was only about 6 months old, he took a tumble down a flight of stairs while he was under his dad's watch, but came out of it completely unscathed. Houdini remarked, "That was a real Buster." In those days, according to Keaton, Buster meant a spill or a fall that had the potential to really hurt someone. Joe started calling him Buster, and the nickname stuck. His real name was Joseph Frank Keaton, if you're curious. Number 3. Houdini was a keen pilot. In 1909, 6 years after the Wright brothers confirmed the likelihood of flight, Houdini became extremely curious about airplanes and purchased his first plane. Houdini was a keen pilot, and even claimed to be the first person, he was third, to fly a plane in Australia, taking his own biplane with him for his Australian tour in 1910. He learned to fly in Germany, under the condition that he trained German pilots after he was qualified. After realizing he had trained enemy pilots for World War I, he regretted his decision and never flew again, following his record attempt in Australia. Number 4. Throughout his life, Houdini had 10 names. Houdini was born Eric Weiss in 1874 in Budapest, Hungary, to Jewish parents. Here with a list of his names. One of 6 children, the Weiss family moved to America in 1878. He changed his name to Eric and his friends called him Harry, which inspired his Americanized first name Harry. He performed as a trapeze artist with the name Eric, the Prince of the Air. He was 9 years old when he made his trapeze debut. He later changed his surname to Houdini because his partner, Jake Hyman, said it would mean like Houdin in honor of the magician Robert Houdin. His other stage names include Eric the Great, the King of Cards, and Eric, Prince of the Air. Number 5. Houdini once dazzled Teddy Roosevelt. While Houdini could command crowds of 10,000 spectators for his outdoor shows, he likely got one of his biggest kicks from a semi-private performance for Theodore Roosevelt aboard the SS Imperator in June 1914. The illusionist employed a slate trick, a common practice among mediums at the time, where the participant writes down a question and then a spirit answers it. Houdini had Roosevelt write down a question, "Where was I last Christmas?" and then placed it between the pages of a book. The book was then reopened to reveal a map of South America and details of the former president's then unknown trip to a tributary of the Amazon River. Houdini reassured his stunned audience that he wasn't really communicating with spirits, though he declined to admit that he'd learned of Roosevelt's expedition from editorial friends at the UK's Telegraph, and then used his sleight of hand skills to slip the map into the book. Number 6. Houdini was a romantic. Houdini was a romantic as he married his wife Wilhelmina Beatrice Besraner just 2 weeks after meeting her. She would also become his stage partner. He was known for writing her love letters regularly over the course of their 35-year. Houdini was a romantic as he married his wife Wilhelmina Beatrice Besraner just 2 weeks after meeting her. She would also become his stage partner. He was known for writing her love letters frequently over their 35-year marriage, a lot of them while she was in the room. After he passed away, his wife tried to contact him from beyond the grave. They even agreed on a code word before death to rule out any false play by con artists' spiritual advisors. Number 7. Houdini and Arthur Conan Doyle were great friends, until they weren't. Houdini met the famous Sherlock Holmes writer, Arthur Conan Doyle, at one of his performances. They initially bonded over their interest in spiritualism. Houdini was interested in the craft from a defrauding point of view, and Doyle was, ironically, a staunch believer. While Doyle supported Houdini at first, he felt his friend was going too far. In his book, The Edge of the Unknown, Doyle writes, "I am quite prepared to think that Houdini's campaign against mediums did temporary good so far as false mediums goes, but it was so indiscriminate and accompanied by so much which was intolerant and offensive that it turned away the sympathy and help which spiritualists, who are anxious for the cleanliness of their own movement, would gladly have given him." After a couple of failed attempts at resolution, the differences between the two escalated to where they were criticizing each other in letters published in the New York Times. Finally, the two stopped talking altogether. Number 8. Houdini was inspired by the father of modern magic. According to the researcher John Cox, Houdini's beginnings as a serious stage artist can be traced to his discovery of Frenchman Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin, the father of modern magic. After reading Robert Houdin's memoir in 1891, the New York City teen, then known as Eric Weiss, quit his job as a tie cutter, changed his name to Harry Houdini, and set his legendary career in motion. However, his eventual mastery of stagecraft seemingly soured Houdini on the tricks of his predecessor, and in 1908, he bluntly denounced the methods of his erstwhile hero with the publication of The Unmasking of Robert Houdin. Number 9. Although the Chinese water torture cell didn't do Harry Houdini in, one of his performances nearly did. In 1915, Houdini was buried in a pit with just dirt shoveled right on top of him for a stunt in Santa Ana, California. While trying to dig his way out, he started to panic and use up his precious air. He tried to call for help, but that's not exactly the easiest thing to do while covered in mounds of dirt. Finally, his hand broke the surface, and he was pulled to safety, where he promptly passed out. He later wrote that the weight of the earth is killing.